Back up, now. The words weren't shouted. They were spat. Lena Carter didn't flinch. She stood tall in her tailored slate gray blazer, heels steady on the marble floor outside courtroom 6B. She wasn't near the door. She wasn't blocking anyone. She was simply standing, still, silent. But that wasn't good enough for Officer Malik Mitchell. Without warning, without hesitation, he kicked her. A hard, ugly shove of his boot straight into her chest. Lena flew backward, her shoulders slamming into the wooden bench, her leather briefcase crashing open on the floor, scattering documents everywhere. Gasps. Not screams, just gasps. The kind of gasp that people make when they're not sure if what they saw was real or legal. And then, silence. For a second, even the fluorescent lights seemed to pause. The woman on the ground didn't cry. She didn't yell. She didn't even look angry. She stood up, slowly, carefully, and dusted off her jacket. Her fingers moved with purpose, picking up each document as if nothing had happened, as if she wasn't just assaulted in the hallway of a public courthouse. Then she looked Mitchell in the eye. Are you done? Tell us where you're watching from, and have you ever seen a man destroy his career in one move? Officer Mitchell blinked. He wasn't used to women like her. Ma'am, this is a restricted area. You were asked to move. You kicked me. You refused to follow directions. Lena reached into her briefcase. No rush, no panic. She pulled out a black leather badge holder and flipped it open. She didn't say a word. She didn't have to. The badge read, Lena Carter, Chief of Police, Millstone Metropolitan District Executive Order Number 2256. Appointed June 5th, 2025. Mitchell's jaw locked. His eyes darted from the badge to her, to the hallway security camera. His mouth opened, then closed. You kicked your new boss, she said softly, and then added, on my first day. The hallway turned colder. A young legal clerk behind the records counter dropped his folder. An elderly couple froze on the bench near the drinking fountain. The court reporter just whispered, "Oh my God." Lena didn't move. She didn't need to. Mitchell looked around. He tried to regain control. That badge could be fake. Lena's eyebrow lifted. Would you like to confirm it with the mayor's office? Or the governor's? No answer. She looked down at the scuff mark on her blazer where his boot had struck. You've got a heavy foot, she said, brushing it off. Remind me, how many complaints have you had for excessive force? Mitchell stiffened. Lena stepped forward, not to intimidate him, but to pass him. Excuse me, she said, moving toward the courtroom door. He didn't stop her this time. Inside courtroom 6B, the judge was already seated. A domestic assault case was in session. Lena slid into the last bench, far in the back, near the wall. No fanfare, no one noticed. Just another woman watching a trial. But she wasn't watching the defendant. She was watching the system. How the bailiff barked at the witness. How the ADA cut off the public defender. How the judge didn't flinch when the tone grew condescending. She knew this game. And more importantly, she remembered this room. Because 15 years ago, in this very courtroom, Lena had watched her younger brother be convicted. No evidence, just assumption. And the officer who testified? Mitchell. She hadn't forgotten. She never would. Outside the courtroom, Mitchell was panicking. He grabbed his walkie. Control! I need a confirmation. A voice cut him off. Control is offline. We're rerouting traffic due to protocol maintenance. Maintenance? He didn't know it yet, but the system had already started shifting. Lena's badge swipe at the courthouse entry had triggered a silent alert. And after the assault, that alert escalated. Now the gears were turning. Back inside, Lena was ready. She slipped a phone out of her jacket pocket. Not a regular one. This was a secured federal device linked to Clear-Gavel Protocol, a digital infrastructure monitoring courthouse ethics and public conduct in real time. She didn't need to type anything, just placed her thumb on the biometric sensor. Identity confirmed Level 3 activation enabled initiate system-wide ethics review? Lena paused. She looked up. Mitchell was back inside the courtroom now, standing against the wall, pretending nothing had happened. The judge looked at him, nodded. No one questioned his presence. No one mentioned what just happened, not even a whisper. That was her answer. She pressed yes, and just like that, every screen in the courthouse flickered. Across the city, 214 court cases were instantly paused. 31 legal officials were flagged for compliance review, and $880 million in state legal processing contracts were placed under audit. A bright red message blinked across courtroom monitors. System lockdown. Ethics breach detected. Clear gavel protocol engaged. The judge looked confused. The bailiff called IT. The ADA cursed under his breath. Lena just sat quietly, watching, waiting. Malik Mitchell finally noticed. He turned toward the rear of the courtroom, eyes meeting hers. And for the first time in his career, he looked afraid, because now he understood. The woman he kicked wasn't there to file a complaint. She was there to shut down the whole system. Outside courtroom 6B. Something had shifted. The steady hum of courthouse life, the impatient footsteps, the droning intercoms, the sharp crack of a gavel down the hall, was suddenly disrupted, frozen even. Monitors that usually displayed case dockets were now flashing an unfamiliar red warning. System lockdown. Ethics breach detected. Court clerks stared at their terminals. Janitors paused mid-sweep. Even the security guard at the entrance reached instinctively for his radio. But nothing worked. Inside that silence, Lena Carter walked calmly toward the main exit. She didn't rush, didn't speak. She just walked, like a woman who didn't need anyone's permission. Behind her, the courtroom door creaked shut. Officer Malik Mitchell didn't follow. He couldn't. Not yet. 8 floors up in the Office of Internal Compliance, 3 officials were crowded around a pulsing red terminal. Every attempt to bypass the lockout failed. "Who triggered this?" one of them asked sharply. "Not IT," replied the analyst. "The system says it was biometric verified. DOJ-linked clearance." Another tapped rapidly on a backup interface. "User, Carter Lena. Title, Chief of Police, Millstone Metro. Tier 3 Federal Override." Someone dropped their pen. One of the senior staff whispered, "She activated it? On day 1? No one had an answer. They only knew that nothing like this had ever happened. They weren't prepared for it. 12 years earlier, Lena had stood in a different courtroom, younger, determined, and full of quiet rage. Her brother had been sentenced based on a single officer's word, Malik Mitchell's. No physical evidence, no questions asked. When the verdict came down, she hadn't screamed. She hadn't cried. She just sat there, still, watching, memorizing. She knew then that the system wasn't broken. It was working exactly as it was designed. So she chose a different path. Law school, civil rights litigation, quiet reform work, building networks instead of burning them down. Until now. Now, the reckoning began. Lena stepped out into the sunlight at the courthouse's north exit. It was warm, bright, almost peaceful. If you didn't know better, you'd think today was a normal Monday. But inside, over 30 legal officials had just lost access to their systems. She reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out the secure phone. It vibrated softly. Clear gavel status. Phase 1. Active. 31 officials under ethics review estimated legal operations freeze $880.4 million. She locked the screen and moved on. Back in courtroom 6B, Mitchell stood frozen. Not physically, he could move, but he didn't. His body was stiff, his throat dry. For the first time, he felt vulnerable inside the one place he'd always felt invincible. He tapped his shoulder radio. Static. He opened his Case Access app. Denied. His badge didn't scan anymore. In a last-ditch effort, he stepped into a vacant jury room and called someone from his personal phone. "Hey, listen, this woman, Chief Carter, she just pulled something big. She activated that clear gavel thing. It's locking everything down." There was silence on the other end. Then, "You kicked her, didn't you?" Mitchell didn't answer. "They Jesus, Malik. You kicked the new chief of police? Click. 4 blocks away, Lena entered a small brick building that served as her new office. No press, no ribbon cutting. Just a repurposed firehouse with a single desk, a coffee machine, and a secure terminal. She sat down, took a breath, and connected her encrypted drive. Welcome, Chief Carter. Next steps. Clear Gavel Phase 2. Officer Behavioral Audit. Judicial Prejudice Review, Legal Resource Disparity, Scan Pattern Recognition, Targeted Sentencing. She selected all of them. Meanwhile, journalists were beginning to sense something had happened. Kira Bell, a young local reporter from Telltale's network, had been covering a routine traffic court case that morning. She noticed the screens freeze, then the whispers, then the tension. She stepped outside and called her editor. "I don't have all the details," she said. "But something just happened in courtroom 6B. Chief Lena Carter is here, and Clear Gavel's been triggered." Within the hour, her live stream was trending. Breaking! Chief Lena Carter initiates first ever Clear Gavel protocol. Multiple contracts, judges, and law enforcement systems now under review. By 5 p.m., 4 judges had been quietly removed from their courtrooms. A $122 million software contract was suspended. Dozens of past civilian complaints were reopened. Internal Affairs received federal approval to begin live audit procedures. It wasn't just a protocol. It was a reset. And Lena wasn't done. As dusk fell, she walked back to her apartment. No entourage, no press. She passed by a bus stop where 2 law students were debating her actions. "She didn't even press charges," one of them said. "She didn't need to," the other replied. "She rewrote the rules while they were still quoting them." At home, she poured herself a glass of water and sat in the quiet. The courthouse coverage played on mute in the background. Her name appeared over and over again. She didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She watched, because this was just the beginning. And she was just getting started. Rain started falling by morning. Not a downpour, just that soft, stubborn kind of drizzle that clings to everything. Like the air itself knew something was unraveling. Officer Malik Mitchell sat inside his parked patrol cruiser, just a few blocks from the courthouse. He hadn't reported for duty. He didn't dare. His badge hadn't scanned all morning, his internal login was still locked, and his name had started trending on social media. The video hadn't leaked, not yet, but rumors had. He scrolled through the comments on a local subreddit. "Did y'all see the ethics shutdown at Millstone Courthouse? Word is some cop assaulted a black woman in court and she turned out to be the new chief?" Another post said, "City's judicial contracts frozen. Lena Carter's playing chess, and y'all still playing checkers." Mitchell shut his phone off. The knot in his chest had become something uglier now. Paranoia. What else did she have on him? He reached into his glove box and pulled out an old burner phone. Not for emergencies, for old favors. People who owed him. He made a call. "I need help," he said. Lena didn't get much sleep. She was back in her office before 6 a.m., reviewing the audit paths that Clear Gavel had started to map out overnight. Case after case, name after name. A pattern that was no longer just a feeling in her gut. It was now data. Mitchell's name appeared 47 times. Disproportionate ticketing, excessive courtroom removals, language flagged for racial bias, missing body cam footage, testimonies contradicted by records. And he wasn't alone. The system was starting to connect the dots. Lena stared at the screen and whispered, "They were protecting each other." She didn't say it with anger, just recognition. The way someone reading a cancer diagnosis doesn't scream, but nods slowly because it finally makes sense. By 9 a.m., city officials began circling. Calls from the mayor's office came in quietly. The county administrator asked for a friendly status update. Lena didn't respond. She wasn't here to give comfort. She was here to give the system a mirror and let it choke on its own reflection. At 10:13 a.m., a press release from the Ethics Commission confirmed it. Phase 2 of the Clear Gavel Protocol is now active. Internal investigations pending across 4 courthouses. Subpoenas to follow. Mitchell read the headline while parked behind a gas station. His burner phone lit up with a reply. The man he called wasn't a friend exactly, more like a favor collector. His name was James Jimmy Lucero, a former bail bondsman turned political fixer. He didn't ask for explanation, just said, "You need it to go away?" Mitchell answered, "Or at least, slow it down. Buy me time." Lucero paused, then laughed. "You should have retired 2 years ago, Malik. What'd you do?" "Shover." Mitchell didn't answer. Lucero kept talking. "I'll make a call. There's still a few judges who owe me one." He ended the call without saying goodbye. Across the city, Lena was already 10 steps ahead. She'd flagged Lucero's number the moment Cleargavel connected him to a string of suspicious bail contract rewrites. His firm had funneled over $2 million through emergency legal clauses during COVID lockdowns, cases that had Mitchell's signature on them. The corruption wasn't new. What was new was that now it could be seen, tracked, proven. She printed a list and pinned it to her board. 32 names. Not all guilty, but all involved. By noon, the courtroom floors felt quieter. 3 staffers from the county ethics office arrived unannounced, escorted by federal auditors. They carried sealed subpoenas. Judges stared from chambers. One bailiff whispered, "I think we're next." For the first time in decades, the courthouse didn't feel like the heart of justice. It felt like a crime scene waiting for its tape. Mitchell got out of the car finally. He didn't go to the precinct. He walked straight to City Hall. He marched in like he owned the place, but the receptionist barely looked up. "I need to speak with the mayor." The woman raised an eyebrow. "Name?" He gave it. She tapped her keyboard, paused, then said, "You've been marked for administrative freeze. Access to city officials is restricted pending review." Mitchell's face went pale. "You've got to be kidding me." She looked up, flatly. "Sir, you're not even supposed to be in this building." He stood there frozen, then turned and stormed out. His boots slammed hard against the marble floors, echoing too loud for someone whose world was collapsing. Back at Lena's office, her assistant knocked gently. "There's someone from DOJ on line 2. She picked it up. The voice was calm, firm, female. "Chief Carter, we've been watching closely. The White House task force wants a full brief. What you're doing, we believe it may warrant federal replication." Lena didn't flinch. "Cleargavel isn't just a tool," she said. "It's proof that we can rewrite the system without a single bullet fired." The voice replied, "We agree." The call ended. She stared at the phone for a second, then exhaled quietly. That night, Lena took a cab home. No driver detail, no police escort. She didn't want protection. She wanted to feel the streets again, the quiet ones, the ones where no cameras rolled and no court clerk wrote anything down. She passed a mural painted near her old block. It showed a young black boy holding a broken gavel, standing between 2 shadows, a judge and a cop. Under it, someone had spray painted, "We're not asking for revenge, we're asking for truth." Lena stood still in front of it for a long moment. Then she walked on. Not fast, but forward. Mitchell didn't sleep. He couldn't. Not after the DOJ got involved. His phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Calls from lawyers, retired judges, old friends asking what the hell he had done. The street that used to whisper respect when he walked by now echoed with silence. Even the guys at the diner looked away when he walked in that morning. One waitress, who used to refill his coffee without asking, suddenly forgot he existed. The worst part? He still had no clue what Carter's next move was, but he was about to find out. At 8 a.m., Lena stood in front of a packed room inside the Millstone Civic Center. Cameras lined the back wall. City officials filled the front rows. Reporters, lawyers, court employees, all staring at the woman who, until yesterday, they hadn't taken seriously. She adjusted the mic, and then, without introduction, she said, "In the past 48 hours, Cleargavel has identified 2,318 judicial actions flagged as ethically compromised. Of those, 1,091 were linked directly to officers or clerks within Millstone's court system. We have mapped patterns of exclusion, manipulation of evidence, racial bias in sentencing, and abuse of courtroom removal protocols, some of which extend over a decade. A gasp moved through the crowd like wind through dry leaves. That system has now been paused. Effective immediately, all internal disciplinary reviews will be removed from court jurisdiction and overseen by a federal civilian ethics board, under public observation. People didn't clap. They stared. Someone near the back whispered, "She just federalized the whole damn courthouse." Mitchell was watching from his living room. He threw the remote at the TV. "She's bluffing," he muttered, pacing. "She has no authority for that. She can't just override state law." But deep down, he knew it wasn't a bluff. Because Carter wasn't working alone, and because this wasn't about state law anymore. It was about what could no longer be ignored. That same morning, Lena returned to her office and found a stack of sealed envelopes waiting on her desk. Each contained a voluntary resignation from someone in the old chain of command. Bailiffs, assistant clerks, a retired judge, 2 prosecutors, some with apologies, some just with silence. She opened one from a woman named Rosa Delgado, a courtroom interpreter. It read, "I'm sorry I stayed quiet when I saw what they did to that kid 3 years ago. I thought no one would believe me. I didn't know someone like you would ever come." Lena folded the letter, placed it in a box, and whispered, "You're not alone anymore." That afternoon, the first round of court hearings resumed under temporary federal supervision. One of the hearings involved a 62-year-old man named Darren Moore. 3 years ago, he had been removed mid-sentence while defending himself in a small claims dispute. That removal, ordered by Mitchell, had resulted in a contempt charge and a bench warrant. He lost his case, then his job, then his home. He now lived in a shelter near the train station. But today, Moore stood in court again, clean shirt, shaved, eyes tired but clear. The judge this time wasn't from Millstone. He wore no robe, just a blazer, civilian, fair. "Mr. Moore," the judge said, "this panel has reviewed your original transcripts, courtroom footage, and officer statements. Based on the new evidence and ethical standards, we are prepared to expunge all prior charges and issue a formal apology from the state of Massachusetts." Moore's voice cracked. He didn't speak. He just nodded, then covered his face. Back at Police HQ, Mitchell's locker had been emptied. No one told him directly. They didn't have to. His nameplate was gone. His badge scanner didn't even light up anymore. When he tried to enter the gym, the new security guard, who looked maybe 21, blocked his way with a firm shake of the head. "No clearance, sir." Mitchell muttered, "I was here before you were even born." The kid just raised an eyebrow and said, "Maybe that's the problem." Elsewhere, Lena held a quiet meeting with a group of community leaders in a church basement. No cameras, no press, just folding chairs and raw truth. An older woman named Miss Geneva raised her hand. "You ain't scared?" she asked. Lena smiled gently. "I'm terrified," she said, "but fear only owns you if you stay still." Miss Geneva nodded, then reached into her purse and pulled out a faded photograph. It showed a young black man in cuffs, bruised, head down. "My boy," she said. "They never let me see the footage from that courtroom. Said it got erased." Lena took the photo. "I'll find it," she said. "And if it's gone, I'll find who deleted it." That night, Lena stood on the rooftop of her apartment building. The city stretched below, messy and cold and alive. She watched a police cruiser roll by on the street, the same kind she used to avoid walking near, not because she was guilty, but because she'd learned that sometimes existing was enough to be questioned. Now, she was the question. She was the audit. She was the mirror. Her phone buzzed. A text from DOJ. "Full ethics integration approved for clear gavel across 11 city courts. Rollout begins Monday." She let out a slow breath. This wasn't over. But tonight, it had begun. The next morning, Mitchell parked his car in a public lot near the courthouse. It used to be the spot where he bullied homeless men to clean up the view. Now he had no reserved spot, no badge, no place to belong. Someone recognized him. A young man across the street, sipping coffee from a cart, stared at him. Didn't speak. Didn't need to. Mitchell looked away. For the first time in his life, shame came without anyone yelling. Back in her office, Lena Carter sat alone with a pen and a single sheet of paper. She wrote slowly, deliberately, each word chosen like it mattered. The letter was addressed to a retired federal judge 200 miles away, someone who once quietly mentored her from afar, someone she was finally ready to update. She wrote, "I'm not trying to burn it all down. I'm just trying to open the windows and let the truth breathe again." She signed it. Chief Lena Carter, Department of Public Integrity, then sealed it with a red wax stamp, an old symbol once forgotten, an open eye inside a courthouse. Lena wasn't supposed to be in court that day, not physically anyway. The whole point of Phase 3 was to let Clear Gavel operate independently, driven by data and citizen audits, not micromanaged by its creator. But that morning, something felt off. The system flagged a last-minute docket update. Courtroom 4B, Judge Renner, a name from Mitchell's old network. The defendant? A teenage boy, 16, black, charged with contempt of court during a small housing dispute. She didn't like the timing. She didn't like the silence around it. So she put on her coat and headed downtown. By the time Lena stepped inside 4B, the hearing had already begun. A bailiff tried to stop her at the door, but when she showed her badge, he stepped aside, quietly, almost nervously. The boy was standing at the defense table. No lawyer, no guardian. He clutched a crumpled lease in his hand, clearly printed from a school library. His knees trembled. His shoes were worn out. Renner was already raising his voice. "I've told you 3 times, young man. You speak only when spoken to. One more outburst and I'll have you removed." Lena's presence didn't go unnoticed. Renner saw her, paused, adjusted his glasses like nothing had changed, but his tone did. Suddenly, he became overly formal, the kind of fake nice that smells like panic. "Let the record show that Chief Carter has joined us this morning. Unexpected, but always welcome." Lena didn't smile. She just nodded and took a seat in the back row. After the hearing ended, after the boy was released with no penalty thanks to her silent presence, Lena stayed behind. She waited until the room was empty. Then she approached Renner. "Was that your idea of subtle retaliation?" she asked calmly. Renner glanced at the clerk and bailiff, then dismissed them with a wave. Once they were gone, his shoulders dropped. "I'm trying to survive," he muttered. "Survive what?" "Your goddamn revolution." Lena raised an eyebrow. "Is that what you think this is?" He didn't answer. She leaned in just enough to whisper, "It's not a revolution, Judge. It's a mirror, and for the first time you're forced to look into it." She turned and walked out. He didn't stop her. Outside the courthouse, cameras were already waiting. A reporter called out, "Chief Carter, is it true you're investigating sitting judges now?" Lena didn't flinch. She stepped up to the mic they extended toward her and said with quiet authority, "We're not investigating people. We're investigating patterns. If those patterns point to people, then yes, we follow the truth wherever it leads." She turned to go, but then paused, just long enough to add, "No one is above accountability. Not anymore." That night, Mitchell sat in a hotel room with peeling wallpaper and a broken lamp. He watched the clip of Lena on the news, watched it on repeat. He hated the calm in her voice. He hated how she didn't gloat. He hated that no one was protecting him anymore. But most of all, he hated that she was winning without ever raising her voice. His phone buzzed. A text from someone he hadn't heard from in years. "You burned the wrong bridge." Meanwhile, Lena returned to her office to find a new package on her desk. No sender, no label. Just a brown envelope with her name handwritten in black ink. Inside were 2 things. A flash drive. A sticky note that read, "I owed you this. Don't ask who I am." She plugged it into the offline terminal in the back room. The files opened slowly. Dozens of security footage clips, clearly taken from inside courthouse offices. Some hidden cams. Some surveillance tapes from cameras supposedly not working. They showed Mitchell, Renner, others. Quiet deals. Bribes. Files altered. And then one clip that made Lena's hand freeze on the mouse. It was the courtroom. 3 years ago. A young boy being dragged from the room, sobbing. A translator crying in the background. Miss Geneva's son. The tape had never been entered into evidence. It was lost, they said. But here it was. Clear. Unedited. Real. The next morning, Lena returned to the church basement and handed the flash drive to Miss Geneva. The older woman didn't ask how she got it. She just held it tight, tears already forming. "Thank you, baby," she whispered. "I couldn't fix the past," Lena said, "but maybe we can give it a voice." Miss Geneva smiled through her tears. "You just did." At City Hall, things were unraveling. 3 senior officials resigned within 48 hours. Another tried to transfer funds from a discretionary ethics account and was immediately flagged by Clear Gavel's system. His attempted move was broadcast live on the internal ethics dashboard. He had to be escorted out by security. By Friday, the state governor issued a formal statement. "We support ethical modernization and welcome federal oversight where appropriate. Massachusetts has always stood on the side of justice, and we will continue to do so." It wasn't an apology, but it was submission. Mitchell finally called someone, a name he had saved for emergencies only. He waited for the man to pick up. When he did, the voice on the other end said, "I don't do cleanup anymore." "It's not cleanup," Mitchell replied. "It's containment." There was silence. Then, "You want me to stop her?" "No," Mitchell said. "I want to find her weak point." "Everyone has one," the man said. Mitchell stared at the blank wall in his motel room and said, "Then find it, before the whole damn state belongs to her." But Lena wasn't thinking about power. She was thinking about systems, about how they rot slowly, invisibly, until someone makes the first cut and realizes it's hollow underneath. She stood alone that evening at the city overlook, watching the skyline bathed in twilight. She wasn't just winning. She was changing the terms of what winning meant. No longer about victory. Now about visibility. No longer about punishment. Now about prevention. Her phone buzzed. A message from her tech lead at Clear Gavel. "Phase 4 ready. We've mapped 22 new flags across 9 counties. Want to pull the trigger?" Lena stared at the screen, then typed 2 words. "Do it," and walked away. It was a quiet Sunday. The kind of morning where sunlight creeps in slow, and even the air feels like it's tiptoeing. But Lena Carter wasn't resting. She stood in the middle of a modest high school gymnasium, staring at rows of folding chairs. No press, no officials, just citizens, nearly 100 of them. Mothers, bus drivers, retired judges, even a teenage girl with braces and a notepad bigger than her backpack. They were all here for one reason: the first public ethics tribunal hosted by Clear Gavel, voluntary, transparent, and, for the first time in state history, broadcast live. At 10 o'clock a.m. sharp, Lena walked to the microphone. No podium, no elevated platform, just her voice, her body, her truth. "My name is Lena Carter. I am your new Chief of Public Integrity. I'm not here to make a speech. I'm here to give you back the gavel." A low murmur ran through the room. She looked each row in the eye. "Today, you'll hear about public servants, officers, judges, politicians, not theories, names, cases, evidence. You'll decide if they upheld the trust you gave them, not by emotion, not by vengeance, but by truth." She stepped back. The room didn't erupt in applause. It went silent, and that silence was louder than any clapping could have been. The first case was read aloud. Case number 4069. People versus Officer Malik Mitchell charge. Repeated use of courtroom authority to intimidate, detain, and expel black defendants without legal cause. Evidence: 47 flagged incidents, 6 confirmed fabrications, 1 whistleblower testimony, 1 recovered video file. The crowd listened in absolute stillness. A retired teacher stood and asked, Can we see the video? Lena nodded to the clear gavel technician. The projector lit up. There it was. Mitchell kicking out Miss Geneva's son. The screams. The gavel slammed in rage. Not justice. A single gasp echoed. Then another. Then silence again. In a back room miles away, Malik Mitchell watched the live stream. Alone. No allies left to shield him. He texted a former deputy. "You seeing this?" The reply came seconds later. "You're done, man. She turned the people into the court now." Mitchell dropped his phone. For the first time, it wasn't just Lena coming after him. It was everyone he used to ignore. Everyone he'd walked past like they were invisible. They saw him now. Back at the gym, a young woman approached the mic during public input. "I used to work in courthouse records," she said. "I was told to delete file logs from Judge Renner's bench. I didn't. I printed them. Here." She held up a folder. The crowd didn't cheer. They stood, one by one, quiet, respectful, powerfully human. By afternoon, Clear Gavel's dashboard went viral. Over 2.6 million people logged in from across the state. The public confidence score ticker climbed every 10 minutes. It read, 79.2% of citizens now trust the Clear Gavel system to independently audit the justice system. A commentator tweeted, "Lena Carter didn't just expose corruption, she made integrity feel like something we own again." Meanwhile, the governor's chief of staff called Lena directly. "We'd like to schedule a meeting with you in the DOJ Ethics Oversight Division," he said. Lena replied, "Make it public." "Excuse me?" "If we're going to clean this system up," she said, "we're not doing it in private conference rooms." He hesitated, then said, "I'll call you back." She hung up before he could. Later that night, Lena sat at a bench outside the old train station downtown. She didn't have her security team, no cameras, just a paper coffee cup and the stillness of knowing something was shifting. A young man walked up, nervously. "Chief Carter?" She looked up. He held out his phone. "Can I show you something?" It was a picture. His mother standing in front of the same courthouse Lena had entered 2 weeks ago. She looked tired, but proud. She lost her home in '09. No one listened. She says you're the first one who walked back through those doors and made them matter again. Lena smiled softly. "What's your name?" "Terrence." She stood, shook his hand. "You ever think about interning for a public ethics board?" His eyes widened. He nodded. "Good," Lena said, "because I'm building one." That night, the Clear Gavel servers logged their highest activity ever. 8.9 million data points cross-verified. 37 anonymous whistleblower submissions. 7 federal judges voluntarily recused themselves from pending hearings. And 1 retired officer, previously protected by legal immunity, turned himself in. Mitchell tried calling Lucero again. No answer. He left a voicemail. "I didn't sign up for this kind of war. She's got the press, she's got the public, she's got people crying in churches for God's sake." He paused. Then, quietly, "She's not playing the game anymore. She's changing the fucking board." Back at Lena's office, her lead analyst ran in with wide eyes. "We just got a notification," he said. "What is it?" He turned his screen. Senator Cordell just cited Clear Gavel on the Senate floor. He called it a new federal model for citizen-integrated justice auditing. Lena leaned back in her chair. For a moment, she just stared at the ceiling. No victory dance, just breath. Deep, steady, earned. At midnight, she opened her laptop one last time. She clicked on a draft she'd written months ago, long before the public believed in her, before the systems cracked, before Mitchell fell, before Geneva's tears became part of public record. It was titled, "The Quiet Rebuilding." She added a line. The system didn't collapse in one day, but today, something else collapsed. The silence. She hit save, then closed the laptop and let herself sleep. The night Lena Carter became a national name, she was asleep. No champagne, no press conference, no party. She had crashed on the couch in her office, still wearing her boots, one hand holding a notebook, the other loosely wrapped around her phone. But while she slept, the world didn't. The Senate floor was on fire. It started with Senator Alicia Cordell, one of the few politicians who had backed Lena from the shadows. She walked to the mic during an open ethics session and said, clearly, without a script, "What Lena Carter built in Boston is not just a city model. It is a prototype for federal systems, for airport security, for courtroom audits, for everything. Clear Gavel proves that you can give power back to the people and they won't abuse it. They'll protect it." The room went quiet. Then came the murmurs, the ripple of old alliances shaking. Within hours, Hatched Clear Gavel and #Lena Carter Protocol were trending nationwide. Lena woke up at 5:42 a.m. to 132 missed messages. Her tech lead, Naomi, burst into the room breathless. "You need to see this," she said, throwing the TV remote toward her. Lena blinked at the screen. CNN. Senator calls for federal ethics reform based on Clear Gavel system. MSNBC. Lena Carter model could reshape public trust nationwide. Fox. With mild panic. New AI-driven justice model raises questions on due process. Lena sat up slowly, rubbed her eyes, didn't speak. Naomi whispered, "They want a pilot test in 5 states. DOJ just confirmed." By noon, Lena was on a secure Zoom with the Justice Department. Not in court, not in a city meeting. In her sweats, sipping stale coffee. The man across the call, Assistant Attorney General Monroe, leaned in. "Let me be clear. This isn't a review. We want to adopt 5 states, 9 cities. We want to test Clear Gavel under full federal supervision." Lena raised an eyebrow. "And what do you want from me?" He didn't blink. "We want you to run it." Naomi's mouth dropped. Lena didn't answer right away. She glanced out her window, watching the snow melt in patches along the sidewalk. "I'll run it," she said. "But I pick the pilot cities, and the rules don't get watered down." Monroe nodded. "Understood." Meanwhile, Mitchell was spiraling. The motel room was now stripped bare. Just a single duffel, 1 burner phone, and a case of cheap whiskey. He watched the live stream of Lena testifying before the DOJ. She didn't say anything wild. No dramatics, just facts. Data. Citizen trust metrics. Accountability patterns. But it was the way people looked at her. Like she was the future. Like they'd already chosen her over everything he used to represent. He punched the wall, cracking the cheap plaster. In downtown Boston, a new mural was being painted overnight on the side of a school building. It wasn't a portrait of Lena. It was an image of a scale, balanced. Below it, 3 words, "We are watching." It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. Lena stepped back into City Hall for the first time since the tribunal went public. Half the building stood up when she entered. She walked straight to the ethics oversight room, once a glorified storage closet, now a nerve center. Naomi was waiting. "Senator Cordell just emailed," Naomi said. "They want to use our data to draft the National Ethics Charter." Lena looked her dead in the eyes. "Good, but we don't just give them data. We give them terms." Across the country, pressure mounted. California requested an immediate audit of its probation system. Florida, surprisingly, invited Lena to testify. New York began testing an early version of Clear Gavel in Brooklyn Criminal Court. But not everyone was thrilled. Old-school prosecutors and court officers signed a private letter accusing Clear Gavel of undermining discretion. It leaked. Public backlash exploded. A viral tweet from a college student said it best. "If your discretion needs secrecy to survive, maybe it's not justice. Maybe it's privilege." By Friday, the White House requested a closed-door meeting. Lena declined. Instead, she released a public video. "This is not about me. This is not about politics. This is about dignity. And if dignity can't be discussed in the daylight, it's not worth preserving." The internet went wild. Even her critics had to admit, she was setting the rules now. That night, Lena went back to the church basement. Miss Geneva was there serving hot tea to a circle of women, mothers, activists, former defendants, all of them now part of the advisory council Lena built. Geneva pulled her aside. "You know they're gonna come for you, right?" she said softly. Lena smiled, weary but firm. "They already have," she said. "I'm still standing." Geneva nodded, then added, "They thought you were building a weapon, but you built a mirror." Outside, snow had started falling again, light, quiet, like a reset. Lena walked to her car alone. No security, no cameras. Just a woman with too much work and not enough sleep, but a steady fire inside. She got in, pulled out her phone, and texted Naomi. "Push Phase 5 live. Add whistleblower protection. Expand audit visibility to 50 states." Naomi replied instantly. "You sure?" Lena didn't hesitate. "We're past sure. We're necessary." She hit send and drove off into the dark. Geneva sat at her kitchen table, the morning sunlight pooling across the stack of letters she hadn't opened yet. Most were thank you cards. Some were requests for interviews. One envelope, cream-colored with gold foil, stood out. It was from the White House. She smiled, just barely, and set it aside. Across town, Lena Carter stood inside a federal hearing room in D.C., her back straight, blazer sharp, voice steady. "This isn't about punishing bad actors. This is about rewriting the environment that made them possible in the first place." Her words weren't rhetorical. They were systemic. Behind her sat Naomi, her lead analyst. Geneva, quietly present in a blue dress, and a row of citizens who had never stepped foot in a federal building until Clear Gavel invited them to help redesign justice from the inside out. By now, the numbers were staggering. 14 states had adopted the Clear Gavel framework in some form. 4 federal agencies had begun integrating real-time ethical scoring, and most shocking of all, a bipartisan ethics reform bill was gaining traction under the name the Carter Charter. Lena didn't smile. Not once. This wasn't a victory lap. This was a transition point. That night, Lena met with Senator Cordell in a secured lounge above the Capitol. The senator, exhausted but animated, dropped a thick binder on the table. "This," she said, "is the federal compliance package. Drafted, reviewed, ready to go." Lena opened it, scanned the top page. Her name was on it, not as author, as architect. "I didn't ask for this," Lena said, eyes narrowing. "I know," Cordell replied. "But you're the only one who's not trying to survive the system. You're redesigning it." Lena ran a hand over the document. Not from pride, from weight. Real, historic weight. Meanwhile, Malik Mitchell was hiding in a motel 2 states away, watching the hearing on a cracked tablet. His world was caving in. The Blue Ridge County Sheriff's Department had quietly reopened his early career records. An anonymous report had linked him to 2 unsolved misconduct claims in Millstone. His name was now on the Clear Gavel dashboard under pending investigation. Mitchell grabbed the tablet and hurled it at the wall. It didn't break. He did. The public wasn't just watching anymore. They were participating. Every town hall in Boston had overflow crowds. Some cities even set up civic pods, mobile Clear Gavel kiosks where citizens could anonymously review their experiences with local agencies. What had started as Lena's pilot model had now become an instrument of accountability people could touch. A grandmother in Milwaukee used it to flag a public defender who routinely ignored cases involving housing discrimination. A teenager in Kansas uploaded a video of his school security officer threatening him. Within 48 hours, the man was suspended pending review. The system was no longer hidden. It was out. Back in D.C., the hearing entered its second day. Lena presented a series of reforms for high-risk federal positions. Automatic audit flags for any action affecting vulnerable populations, minimum ethics visibility windows, and a zero retaliation shield for whistleblowers that had already passed stress testing in Boston. An old senator scoffed. "You're turning every courthouse into a surveillance site," he said. Lena didn't flinch. "No, Senator, I'm turning every courthouse into a mirror, and for some people that's more terrifying." By the third day, things escalated. A leaked email from a senior DOJ official showed that several federal judges had pushed back against the Carter Charter, calling it dangerously populist. It backfired. The email went viral. Within 12 hours, over 80,000 citizens had submitted public support signatures for the charter. Twitter, or X as it now called itself, was flooded with posts like, "Populism isn't dangerous. Lack of transparency is. Carter Charter now." Lena Carter just made the word integrity trend. Hasn't happened in 20 years. In a quiet moment between sessions, Geneva and Lena sat together in a cafe 2 blocks from Capitol Hill. Geneva stirred her tea, her fingers trembling slightly. "They're gonna try to bury you after this," she said. Lena nodded. "Then I'll be buried standing." "You ever get tired?" Geneva asked softly. "All the time," Lena replied. Geneva looked up. "But you keep showing up." Lena exhaled. "Because if I don't, we go back." Meanwhile, a rogue group of judicial elites released an op-ed slamming Clear Gavel as mob rule in a digital suit. Lena didn't respond. Instead, she posted a 15-second video. If accountability feels like mob rule, maybe the problem isn't the crowd. Maybe it's your seat. The post was shared 1.2 million times in 24 hours. Back in Boston, something unexpected happened. A group of former law students, inspired by Lena, launched Ethics in Class, a platform to crowdsource integrity reviews of law school curriculums, faculty, and case examples. It got national press. For the first time, legal education itself was under ethical review. When asked what inspired them, the group released a statement. "Lena Carter taught us that justice doesn't start at the courthouse. It starts in the classroom." At the end of the week, Lena walked into one last hearing, the final vote. Cameras flashed, reporters whispered. The Senate floor was packed. Senator Cordell rose. "Madam President, on behalf of this chamber, we move to vote on Resolution 221B, the Carter Charter, a national ethics framework for federal justice agencies." Lena stood still, calm. One by one, the votes came in. 64 to 36. It passed. The room didn't erupt. There was no confetti, just a long, deep silence. Like the silence after a storm when you realize the house is still standing, and the foundation stronger than ever. That night, Lena walked alone across the Capitol steps. The wind sharp, her coat flapping, the city lights distant. She stopped halfway down the marble stairs and looked out, then whispered, like a prayer, "We didn't win. We just made it possible to begin." The morning after the vote, Lena Carter didn't wake up to celebration. She woke up to a threat. A handwritten note had been slid under her apartment door. "You made your point. Now disappear before someone makes it for you." No signature, no return address, just black ink and bad intentions. Lena read it once, then set it calmly next to her coffee, as if it were just another memo. She'd been threatened before, but this one felt different. Not louder, quieter, like something old trying to crawl back into power. Within hours, Naomi found a pattern. Similar notes had been sent to 2 other Clear Gavel state liaisons and to Senator Cordell's assistant. All hand-delivered, no fingerprints. Naomi's voice was tight when she reported it. "This isn't just pushback anymore, it's coordination." Lena nodded. "I know. Which means they're scared." But she also knew what it really meant. The system was bleeding, and it wanted to bleed back. Later that day, Lena entered the secure control room beneath Boston City Hall. The place looked like a war bunker. LED maps, live feeds, encrypted dashboards. Phase 7 of the Clear Gavel expansion had just gone live. Real-time ethics analytics were now integrated into every major courthouse in Massachusetts. A case flagged for bias? The judge was notified. A cop under review for excessive force? His internal file now included community feedback. The system wasn't theoretical anymore. It was operational. Geneva joined her inside, holding 2 cups of tea. "I told you years ago," she said. "Don't build something unless you're ready to protect it." "I know," Lena said, taking a sip. But I didn't know it would feel like guarding a live wire. You didn't build a wire, Geneva corrected her. You built a fuse. Lena smiled for half a second. Then her face sobered. We've got to move before they strike louder. Meanwhile, back in Virginia, Malik Mitchell resurfaced. He was clean-shaven now, wearing a stolen ID, moving under a new alias, Daniel Ward. He joined an extremist group under the radar, one of those law and order factions that hid white supremacy under words like tradition and discipline. His goal wasn't just revenge, it was sabotage. By Wednesday, Naomi caught something strange. A cluster of suspicious IP pings hitting the Cleargavel servers from proxy nodes in rural Kentucky, Georgia, and Oregon. It looked like testing. Naomi's hands flew across the keyboard. They're probing the back end of the ethics override dashboard, she said, trying to find a vulnerability. Lena didn't hesitate. Shut down external API access, move all overrides to cold storage, and activate Protocol Vantage. Naomi froze. You sure? That protocol hasn't been tested outside simulation. Lena turned toward her. It was designed for moments like this. Protocol Vantage rerouted all admin access through a biometric vault. Only Lena and 2 verified ethics directors could access the core override systems. In other words, even if someone breached the firewall, they couldn't control anything unless Lena let them in. The Cleargavel network went quiet. Safe, for now. That night, Lena met with the mayor in private. He looked nervous. I've had 5 corporate law firms call me in 48 hours, he said, asking about Cleargavel's legal scope. Lena leaned forward. And what did you tell them? He hesitated. I said, I don't know. Lena replied coolly. Then maybe you're not the mayor we need. Silence. She stood. You asked me to help fix the system. I didn't come here to ask permission. She left without another word. Thursday morning, Senator Cordell held a press conference. Let me be crystal clear. Threats to Lena Carter or the Cleargavel framework are not just criminal. They are federal offenses against public integrity, and we will prosecute them accordingly. It wasn't just political backing. It was a line in the sand. But even lines get tested. That night, someone cut the power to Lena's apartment building. No lights, no cameras, no warning. Except for one thing. When Lena opened her door, someone had placed a small toy gavel on her welcome mat. Just the gavel. No note, no explanation. Just a chilling message. We know where you are. Lena didn't panic. She called Naomi. Activate Skyhold 3. Take Boston offline. Mirror the system in Chicago. Move all control inputs through Phase Blue servers. Naomi didn't question her. She just did it. Within minutes, the Boston Cleargavel system was shadowed through a decoy city, running invisibly through encrypted proxies. If anyone tried to breach it now, all they'd find was static. Geneva showed up at Lena's apartment with a flashlight and a look of steel in her eyes. They think you're alone, she said. I'm not, Lena replied. No, Geneva said. You never were. 2 hours later, Naomi uncovered the full plot. Mitchell, under the alias Daniel Ward, had teamed up with a private surveillance firm that had previously contracted with outdated police tech networks. They were trying to exploit an old federal data-sharing loophole to access internal Cleargavel dashboards. It wasn't just sabotage. It was a takeover attempt. Lena looked at the code, the breach logs, the names. And then she whispered, "Time to go public." Friday morning, Lena held her own press conference. No teleprompter, no notes. Just her, in front of a wall of microphones. We've detected an attempted breach of the Cleargavel system, coordinated by private actors tied to obsolete law enforcement tech firms. This isn't just a digital crime. It's a direct assault on the people's right to transparent justice. The room erupted. Then she added, As of today, I'm invoking the Civic Firewall Act and referring the entire network attack to federal cybercrime prosecutors. Let the record show, justice does not bend for cowards in shadows. Across the country, people lit up social media with the hashtag #WeStandWithLena. Within 24 hours, 3 cyber firms lost contracts. 4 police departments suspended outdated systems. The Department of Justice launched a formal investigation into the breach. That night, Lena walked back into the Clear Gavel Command Center. Naomi was waiting. "It's over," she said. Lena looked at her. "No," she said quietly. "It's just begun." And on the screen behind her, a blinking message appeared. Federal Ethics Systems. Clear status. Next phase. Deployment. National. The day the Federal Clear Gavel network went live, it was quiet. No parades. No fireworks. Just a blinking green light on a server dashboard. And a moment of silence that felt bigger than any anthem. Lena stood in the National Command Center in D.C., surrounded by a small team who had stayed up for 72 hours straight. Geneva was beside her, arms crossed, her eyes wet but unshaken. Naomi pressed the final key. Clear Gavel federal status, live, coverage, 50 states, active sync, 142 courts, override fail-safes, double confirmed. A breath. Then Lena stepped forward and whispered, "Let history begin." By mid-morning, the first alert hit. A federal judge in Arizona flagged for consistently issuing harsher sentences to Latino defendants. Within minutes, his ethics profile was synced to the DOJ Oversight Board. By noon, a prosecutor in Pennsylvania was referred for investigating only 12% of reported police misconduct claims in his district. By 3 p.m., 2 sheriff offices had voluntarily paused operations until their internal ethics reviews cleared. And by 6 p.m., CNN broke the headline, "Clear Gavel launch triggers nationwide reckoning in real time." But behind the media buzz, Lena knew the storm hadn't passed. It had just changed shape. At 7:42 p.m., she received a private call from the White House Chief of Staff. He didn't mince words. "We need a new federal ethics liaison. Someone to standardize Clear Gavel for long-term deployment across all agencies. Cabinet level, with full authority." Lena blinked. "Are you asking me to?" "Yes," he said. "You're not just the system's founder anymore. You're the country's first Secretary of Ethical Justice Systems." Lena didn't speak for several seconds. Then finally, "Only if I get full independent authority." "You'll have it," he said. And just like that, the system became policy. The next morning, she stood in front of a quiet crowd at the Capitol. This time, there were no threats, just reverence. She placed her hand on a worn Bible, Geneva's mother's, and took the oath. To uphold transparency, safeguard justice, and never bow to silence. A promise not just to power, but to every person who never made it past court security. To every name buried under red tape. To every mother like Geneva, who never gave up. Meanwhile, Malik Mitchell was arrested in Tennessee during a raid on a fake law enforcement facility. He didn't resist, but he didn't speak either. Except for one sentence during booking, "She wasn't supposed to win." The officer taking his statement raised an eyebrow. "She didn't win," he said. "She changed the game." Weeks later, Lena returned to Boston for a quiet walk through the courthouse where it all started. Same floors, same steps, same courtroom. Empty now. She sat in the back row and looked at the bench, not from bitterness, but from distance. Geneva walked in behind her and sat beside her. "You ever think we'd make it here?" she asked. "No," Lena said. "But I knew we couldn't stop." Geneva handed her a letter from a 12-year-old in Detroit, written in pencil, messy, tear-stained. "My uncle said the police lied in court, but now the judge had to look at Clear Gavel and changed his mind. I think you saved us. I want to be like you." Lena folded the letter slowly, not for framing, but for carrying. She kept it in her coat pocket from that day forward. The Clear Gavel system continued to expand. It reached airports, public schools, immigration courts, even tribal courts, where it was adapted with cultural autonomy in mind. The phrase, "Show me your Clear Gavel score," became part of everyday life, like credit scores used to be. But this time, it wasn't about money. It was about trust. In her first address as secretary, Lena closed with one sentence. Justice doesn't start in court. It starts when silence ends. The crowd rose in applause. But Geneva just sat still, smiling, knowing the real applause was from every silent corner that had just been given a voice. 6 months later, the sun set quietly over D.C., casting long golden lines across the marble buildings. Lena Carter sat alone in her new office, far from the courtroom where it all began, and higher than any floor she ever imagined herself standing on. From this window, she could see both the Capitol and the courthouse, one built on laws, the other built on people who believed in something deeper than laws: dignity. Her desk was clean except for one object, a worn copy of Letters to My Younger Self, the one Geneva had given her a year ago, and a photo, Geneva and Lena, standing in front of the first clear gavel server. 2 women no one expected, 2 women who rewrote the rules. That day, a report came in. One of the clear gavel dashboards in Texas had flagged a district judge for approving 96% of police-issued warrants without review, a violation not of law, but of trust. In the past, it would have been a quiet injustice. Now, his courtroom was paused, his cases reassigned, his name added to the ethics board queue, visible to the public within hours. Lena didn't need to intervene. The system worked on its own now, and that was the point. She opened her inbox. Buried among agency briefings and security reports, there was an email from a retired defense attorney. It was short. "I watched you speak on PBS. You reminded me why I studied law in the first place." And then, a postscript. "Some of us forgot what justice looks like. Thank you for reminding us." Lena read it twice, then archived it. She didn't need thanks. She needed follow-through. That afternoon, she visited a local juvenile center where Clear Gavel had piloted a new algorithm, one that didn't score just risk, but potential. Instead of flagging kids based on past behavior, it tracked whether judges or probation officers had biases in how they assessed rehabilitation. The result? 6 counties had reversed expulsion decisions against Black and Latino teens. Dozens had entered mentorship programs. In one corner, a boy named Jamal came up to her, nervous. You're the reason I'm still here, right?" he asked. Lena knelt down. "No," she said gently. "You are. I just made sure nobody erased your chance before you got to take it." He grinned. And in that moment, Lena realized something. This work wasn't just about restoring justice. It was about guarding the future. That evening, she walked the halls of the agency alone. Most lights were off. But one door was open, Naomi's lab. She found her friend hunched over code, half asleep. "You should go home," Lena said softly. Naomi looked up, eyes tired but alive. "I know," she said, "but I just ran the projection models. By next quarter, Clear Gavel will cover 67% of federal cases." Lena smiled. "You realize we've done something no one believed was possible?" Naomi nodded. "But it's not finished. Systems can still be twisted." Lena agreed. "That's why we don't stop." Before leaving, Lena stopped by the agency's ethics wall, a live projection of real-time Clear Gavel integrity scores across the country. She touched one of the blinking dots. Massachusetts. It glowed green. A few orange ones blinked elsewhere. A few red. But she didn't look at them in defeat. She looked at them the way a firefighter sees smoke. Not as a warning, but a call. Outside, a light breeze rustled the flag on top of the building. She took a deep breath and looked up. The air felt clearer now. Not perfect, not safe forever, but cleaner. And it was her job, no, her purpose, to keep it that way. Back in her apartment, Lena sat on the floor beside her bed. No shoes, no blazer, just peace. She pulled out the letter from the 12-year-old in Detroit again. Read it one more time, then opened a fresh envelope and began writing back. A year to the day after the Clear Gavel launch, Lena Carter stood beneath soft lighting in a quiet auditorium in Atlanta. No press, no camera flashes, just people, real people, mothers, public defenders, court clerks, teens in second chance programs, a janitor from Milwaukee who once slept in his car after being falsely accused. Now, he trained others how to navigate clear gavel reports. This wasn't a victory lap. It was a reunion of the repaired, and Lena didn't stand on stage. She sat in the front row, listening. One by one, people told stories not of what the system punished, but what it protected. Geneva stepped up last. She didn't read a speech. She held up her old badge, the one she had thrown at the courthouse floor years ago. "I used to think justice had a name," she said. "Now I know it has a pattern, and we finally got the tools to track it, stop it, and rewrite it." She looked toward Lena. "I didn't come here to clap for her. I came to remind her that we're not done." Lena smiled through tears. They both knew what she meant. Justice wasn't a monument. It was emotion. Later that night, Lena walked alone through the streets of Atlanta. No escort, no aides. Just streetlights and late-night jazz drifting from a corner bar. She paused at a mural that stretched across an entire alley wall. It showed silhouettes of women, black, brown, old, young, walking up courthouse steps, carrying books, briefcases, and their babies. At the very top of the steps, in the mural, there was no flag. Just a phrase, painted in quiet gold. "We didn't come to fix the court. We came to finish the sentence." Back in D.C., the Clear Gavel team gathered for one final sync. Naomi leaned on the console. "Final update deployed," she whispered. "No back doors, no override." A pause. Then she added, "We're turning the system over to the people, real-time access, no filters." One tech clapped, then another. Then the whole room. And Lena, she didn't clap. She simply said, "That's how justice grows up." A month later, the Senate passed the Federal Dignity Act. It codified ethics scoring, transparency rights, and the public's ability to challenge courtroom behavior in real time. It also established an independent oversight body, led by a committee Lena had trained herself. When the president signed it into law, he turned to her and said, "This doesn't erase the past, but it makes the future harder to rig." Lena nodded once. That was enough. At home, she kept her office minimal. No plaques, no trophies, just 3 objects on her shelf. A faded photograph of her mother, a torn corner of a Clear Gavel beta printout signed by Geneva, and a sticky note scrawled in child handwriting, "Thank you for making the court less scary." On her last day in public office, Lena didn't hold a press conference. She went back to the Boston courthouse, walked to courtroom 4B, sat quietly in the back row, like she once did when no one believed her. This time, the room was different. Not fancier, but fairer. The new bailiff nodded at her. A young Latina judge glanced up, saw Lena, and smiled. Lena didn't need to speak. Her work was living, on the bench, in the records, in the eyes of people who finally had a name for what they'd felt all along. As she left the courthouse, a woman tapped her on the shoulder. Older, gray curls, soft voice. "You the one who started the system?" she asked. Lena hesitated, then replied, "No, I'm just the one who refused to let silence keep winning." The woman smiled and walked on. And Lena walked into the morning light, unburdened, not because injustice was gone, but because it could no longer hide. Do you think justice is something we wait for, or something we build, one decision at a time? Let us know in the comments, and tell us where you're watching from.